Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am your host, Rashida McFerrin. And today we're going to start off with checking my equipment because I was just recording for 20 minutes and realized I was on mute. So today we're going to be talking about top 4 ways to make 100K. And we're going to just jump right in since we had that test run 5 minutes ago. And so, first off, I do want to say and send my condolences out to Rich Homie Kwan's family who passed away last week. My son got in the car after school one day and was like, Rich Homie Kwan passed. And I'm sitting up there like, which one is Rich Homie Kwan? Because, I'm well past the age where I know the name, the song, and the artist and all the lyrics. That's Gen Z's thing now. And he plays the song and he plays $100,000. I was like, oh, the $100,000 dude. I was like, yeah, much love to him. Much love to him and his family. And sending out condolences in this hard time. It's always hard to sustain any type of loss, and especially when it's the way it happened. And I hate to see it, right? I hate to see in the music culture the way it pulls Gen Z in, not just Gen Z, it was millennials too when we were that age. Like the way it pulls Black kids in and glamorizes the culture of being a celebrity and being a music star. And then, you have this kid who's 35, drops from taking the wrong type of pill. So yeah, definitely my condolences to his family. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about how much you make, $100,000. I'm going to give you 4 tips. And so we're going to start off with the first tip, which is I need you to secure the bag and get a high paying career. Develop your skills. So we live in a technology age where technically a college degree is no longer required in order for you to get to the 6-figure mark. So let me give you some perspective. The kids that are graduating from college now and specialize in, say, business or tech or engineering and something like that, these kids are coming out at minimum making $120,000 from jump, considering that it took me a couple of years to get there back in the early 2000s. I didn't come out like from the gate making 6 figures. I had to work my way up there. I talk about the fact that I am really conflicted about my son going to get a college education and me paying all this money just so he can go to school, meet some kids, and have friends. Like, I really feel like the college experience, while it helps you on social development, it helps you on skill development, it helps you with personal development as far as you growing up. It gives you that little buffer. Like, that is important. But I'm struggling with the fact that you pay 10 to 30K or 40K a year for them to go have a fun experience. Truth be told, if I had to do it over again and I was in my son's shoes, and I had parents who could support me in this, after I finished high school, I would have taken a gap year. A gap year back then wasn't a thing. It was very early in the 2000s, right? I would have taken a gap year because for my son, like, you've been going to school since you were like 1 or 2. Like, well, 2, because I stayed at home with him the first year. But I would take a gap year and just take a break. And I know you run the risk of allowing your peers to move ahead a year with you taking a break, but I would take a break and travel and see some sights in the world and just, like I said, take a break. Because I'm planning to travel as soon as he graduates, okay? I'm planning to start on my travel excursion. I don't know where I'm going first. I think I'm going to go visit my uncle in Vietnam first because that was supposed to be my 40th birthday trip that I never got to take. And we have just not gotten back around to putting it on the calendar because we're so busy with being wrapped up in school for a junior in high school. While I'm taking a break that year, I would get some certifications. They have these skill tech boot camps where you can go do cybersecurity and learn it in 6 to 8 weeks and come out after you get certified, making 100 to 50 to 180K. Can you imagine being an 18-year-old making 150 to 180K? I know I can. I would probably work for a little while so I can get some money saved up. And then on the flip side, I would be learning investing. If I had time to get my real estate license, I would get my realtor's license for sure. But I said all that to say the first step in getting your six-figure job is getting a high paying job. So while I said you don't need a degree, but as you climb up in the corporate ladder, then that is usually where that degree comes into play. Because the more you climb up corporately, the more you're going to bump up against people. When I say bump up, that means compete against people who do have their degrees, who went to the top schools. And so there has to be a distinguishing factor for you outside of just how you're performing in your work environment to give you an edge. And for me, that's where it's been a distinguishing factor in my corporate financial career. That's where it's worked. But I will also tell you that there have been so many times that I've worked with people who graduated high school. My trainer, when I first got to Bank of America, she was probably 5 years older than me. I was 35 when I started at Bank of America. And she went to work for Bank of America straight out of high school. She had been working there for 20 years already. And she was amazing. But she came straight out of high school, went straight into working, and then kind of got gridlocked into this role where she couldn't really get out of because she didn't have a degree until she came across a manager that moved her career further along. And I want to say she started actually working on her degree probably a year or so after she trained me. It does come into play, but my point is that can't be the excuse as to why you don't have a high paying job. Because a lot of times when we're trying to switch tax brackets and getting to the next level, like getting that $100,000 paying job is just the first step. It is the floor, not the ceiling. I will say that again, and I'm going to continue to say that until I'm blue in the face. And that's kind of hard because I'm a Black woman, okay? Like getting to 100K is the floor, not the ceiling. It seems to have the stereotype that once you get to the six-figure range, oh my God, you're set. Life is set. Honey, that is the farthest thing from the truth. And what you will find is how many more taxes you pay, the more money you make. And then you'll find out that the only way to offset those taxes is to go start a business. It's a whole game. Like Tupac said, we ain't meant to survive because it's a setup. Like for real. Like if you do not know the rules to the game, you're going to get played every time. Let's focus on finding some skills, finding something that you like to do. You don't have to be in love with what you do. You just have to like it, to be able to grin and bear it, to do it long enough so you can set yourself up financially on a path that will get you to a solid financial grounding foundation. Number two is skill development. I kind of mentioned a bit of skill development, but your skill development and how you master your craft is going to be this distinguishing factor of how you get to the next level. I'll give you an example. When I was a young mother, a young single mother, 27, in Charlotte, North Carolina, working for Wells Fargo, one of the things that I noticed really well when I came back to work after being off from a year and taking care of my baby was that I still had the same 40 hours to 60 hours in a work week that everybody else had that didn't have children. And I was considered to have had my son early, even though I was 27, because none of my peers were having kids. My peers were off traveling the world, getting their life, honey, like doing the thing. A lot of my peers were from the Air Force. They were stationed all over the world. They were having so much fun. And I would remember looking at them like, they're doing all this stuff. And I'm sitting here raising my son. I got a baby. It's so funny because now I'm looking at them and they got babies that are like 4, 5 years old. And my son is like almost out of high school. And I'm about to be, I guess, what they call a quote unquote empty nester, like in my mid 40s. And I'm still super young. And they like got young kids. I don't know how in the world they doing. the little kids in our 40s because, honey, let me tell you, yeah, you need to be in your 20s when you have your kids because the amount of energy it takes to keep up with them. And don't have more than one child. I still don't know how y'all do it. But anyway, I had to figure out how to master my time management in a way that allowed me to master my craft so that I could outperform everybody else. And for 2.5 to almost 3 years straight, your girl was top 5% in regards to our financial analysis in the assets that we were approving. And I'm talking $1 million homes, high net worth homes. And then we had additional tiers that came on top of that. And then we had the business side of it that were approving companies. I had to figure out how to outsmart folks, and I did. When you don't have the same luxuries that you had before in regards to just letting time sit there or quote unquote wasting time, you figure out how to manage your time wisely and effectively so that you can get ahead. And that is what I did. I had a very productive time for the most part at Wells Fargo. Focus on getting your skills up to par and mastering your craft so that you can be competitive in the market where the talent pool is. Number 3, start a side hustle. I don't like to call them side hustles. Start a small business. And I'll say if your company will let you. One of the things I had to do, because I had my real estate license so very early on, I got my real estate license in 2007. It took me it's not supposed to take you this long, but because I started my banking career, my CEO at the time sent me back to professional banking school for the year of 2006 and the year of 2007. So when I initially went through the professional course for my real estate license, I had to put it on the back burner because I was going to On Graduate School of Management, studying banking and simulating banks and being CEOs in that environment. And so I ended up having to finish banking school first and then getting my license afterwards because I was taking so many courses. And when I wasn't in banking school, my CEO was sending me to income statement school, financial statement school, like trainings. Like I was always in training. That's what I remember a lot about the early part of my career is being in training. And my point to that is once you have your career solidified and you have the downtime, and again, this was before I had my son, you have the downtime to commit to starting a small business that's your asset that you own that brings money into your household. By all means, please do that because that adds another layer of financial stability to the inflow of income that's coming into your household. So that is number 3. And then number 4 is, of course, investing and building your wealth. Here's the financial picture. I'm 25. I take my certification, say in cybersecurity. I pass, I get my cert. I go interview with a ton of companies, ended up working with Google. Starting salary is like $150K. Pow. I'm in the door. Along with that $150K offer with Google, you have benefits that come with that, which are stock options, a 401K, and some other perks. I've never worked for Google. I'm just using them as an example. So this is usually where a person starts to invest in the markets and they don't know what they're doing. Because, honey, I didn't. I remember the first time I invested in my 401k was in 2006. And I remember we had just gone public, like the little bank that I was working for, and our stock was like $26,000 per share. And I'm like, yo, why was the share so high? Anyway, but that's what I started investing because a lot of times when you work for a company, they'll give you discounted stock that you can buy into and that you can hold for a long-term period. And so as number 4 starts to kind of make its way into the financial picture, investing and building wealth becomes a very important thing for you because it allows you to build wealth outside of your salary, number 1. And then number 2, in your 401k, the norm is that there's always a 5 to 7% match. I've actually seen 8% just recently, not too long ago. People are trying to get really competitive because it's hard to get talent now. And so that's money that the company is going to be matching based on a certain percentage of your salary into a 401k plan. And then from that 401k, you have to figure out how to invest. And it took me a while to figure out how to invest my money. And what happened was I ended up working with this guy who was a financial advisor at Wells Fargo, who was working in our business units. And he eventually left and started his own firm. And I bought one of my policies from him. And I still have that policy, like, what is it, 15 years? Has it been 15 years yet? How old is my son? Because that's when I bought it. I bought it when he was little. Yeah, it's been almost 14 years. And what I started doing as we would have lunch, I would sit there and ask him questions about how to diversify my money, how to enter the stock market. Is it best to invest in stocks, individual stocks? Where do I sit my money to make it grow? And like, I took an active part in being responsible for being my own financial advisor. And that's how I learned financial markets. So investing becomes a huge thing and a great builder of wealth if you use it correctly. Or what I want you to think about is, how are you planning to get the bag going forward? Those are the top 4 tips I have to getting a high-paying 6-figure job. To get started, I want you to brainstorm on what is the quickest way for you to get to your 6 figures. Again, 6 figures is the floor, it's not the ceiling. Yeah, I'm going to keep repeating it. So that is all for today's episode. I hope something I said in this episode helps you. If you want to dive deeper into the world of financial freedom, you can check me out at rashida.ai. I am on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. You can catch my handles in the show notes. And until when, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.